Lamont.
Talafalava, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to go back to a point that was made, I think, by my colleague Lynn Pillay. And in my earlier contribution, I acknowledged the work of Aucklanders in trying to have some say on this. And the submissions on this particular bill were called, and the time for that was late December through to the 12th of February. Now, I just want to put that on record, because if we were serious about listening to Aucklanders, then the government would have given a far better opportunity than that. Because as we all know, through that period, it's Christmas and New Year and everybody was on holiday. Despite that, we did end up with 786 submissions, the overwhelming majority of which were opposed to what was in this bill. And furthermore, the polling that has been done to date also shows strong opposition. And I find it quite offensive, actually, that people can stand up and talk about their inbox being full of all this support and everybody they're talking to thinks this is a wonderful day for Auckland. Well, it's absolutely ignoring the reality of the submissions, of the polls, and what people are actually saying on the ground. And one of the areas that people are particularly concerned about is the corporatisation of local government. And the so-called, and misnamed in my opinion, council-controlled organisations is still a significant problem with this bill. And you can dress it up in whatever way you want, and you can tweak around the edges and put a few little fancy public meetings and everything else. It doesn't change the cold, hard reality that Aucklanders have been given no choice, none at all, about which, if any, of the operations of the Auckland Council are to be run by arm's-length commercial entities. That has been decided for them, and they don't want it. And I say they, we. I'm an Aucklander. I don't want it either. And it's unique in New Zealand local government, the extent to which local government has been corporatised as a result of the government's actions and this bill that we're now debating. And we're certainly unpersuaded that this should be done in Auckland. We believe that decisions about these matters should be made by an elected Auckland Council, not by the National Party ramming it through in this legislation. And in fact, the Minister himself admits, and he admitted this in a Cabinet paper, and this is a direct quote, CCOs will play a greater role in service delivery for the Auckland Council than for any other council in the country. Now, why is that? Why is that? Why should Aucklanders have their local government corporatised? Are we going to continue to be unique, or in fact is this just an example of what is to come for the rest of New Zealand? And for people listening out there, I'd say be very, very aware of this, that in fact this is what will happen throughout local government. 75%, I'll repeat that again, 75% of council activities and assets will be kept at arm's length from our elected representatives. Now, you can dress that up in whatever way you want, but that is corporatisation. And these are huge CCOs in the case of Auckland. They've been created by government and they will wield much of the power in the new Auckland. And of course, as we all know at the moment, they're being appointed by Rodney Hyde, that very moderate person that will be sure to be looking after the best interests of all Aucklanders, is busy filling these CCOs up with his mates. And they will control 75% of council activities and assets. That is just plain wrong. Now, the media comment on this is interesting, and I noticed before there was quite hearty reading of the Bernard Orsman article where he did in fact say, yes, Super City U-turn, people power wins. I don't agree with the article. But when he summarises the main changes, here's what he said about the CCOs, and see if this sounds pretty significant to you or not. Council-controlled organisations will hold public meetings. Council-controlled... Oh, was it may? It's even weaker than that. May hold public meetings. Well, that sounds really significant. Rodney Hyde will, and maybe it's may as well, will consult mayors on CCO directors. So Rodney will consult about which of his mates he's going to appoint. Auckland Council will appoint CCO chairs and deputies. Well, that's a slightly more, slightly stronger position, and that's better. But this isn't a positive article about the changes in this bill, the changes that have been made. Mr. Chair.
I call Ross Robertson.